Hi, Capricorn. Welcome to your December 2015 General Taroscope. It's Rena here. And I was just looking at these transits for you in December, and it's very woo oriented, which is the 12th house, very mystical, the opposite of the earthly, grounded, disciplined Capricornian energy. Capricorn rules the 10th house of career. The 12th house, where these planets are transiting, is very hazy, fantasy laden, dreamy. Neptune rules this house, the house of Pisces. So you're having this you're having this house triggered, and so this is going to help to expand you spiritually, because for the next year you have Jupiter in the ninth house, which is Sagittarius's house. But this is also a house that is related to not the exact same kind of energy, but philosophy, religion. And so it causes you to think about the bigger picture. And the 12th house, likewise, is an immaterial house. It's not of this world. And this causes you to have to kind of go into a state of consciousness that's not just about the nuts and bolts of daily living. And I actually think that's a good thing. I said before, I believe in a prior video, that a lot of gurus are born under the sign of Capricorn. And I was speaking primarily of the Indian variety, but even someone like Martin Luther King, I would classify as a type of guru, because he dedicated his life to a bigger picture than just self enjoyment. And I believe that this is indicative of the higher vibration of Capricorn. But to me, the ultimate success is not just in terms of the self, but in terms of helping mankind. And so that's what I see with Capricorn as the highest expression of the sign. So the sun is going to be in the 12th house for much of the month and will be shining a light on these issues, which also relate to your psychological issues that you don't necessarily look at every day of the year. And during this time, there's a lot of self reflection that should go on, and being quiet and seeing the areas where perhaps you still have vulnerability. I know that I'm going through this right now as a Sagittarian, taping this in the month of Scorpio sun, November. And so I'm also having to do this type of work. And I'm not seeking it out myself. It's coming up of its own accord, because that's how it roles. Sometimes it's not the most comfortable energy, but ultimately, I think if you can say, this too shall pass, but also sitting with it, being conscious of it, and realizing that it's an astrological transit, you can make the best use of it. And there's going to be a new moon in the 12th house on the 11th of December. And so this is a great time to initiate a meditation routine, some sort of mystical practice that maybe you've been wanting to do. Maybe there's a class you could take that can teach you some sort of things such as Tai Chi, or even take a Reiki attunement, things of that nature. It's been in your 11th house, Venus, and it has been adding charm to your circle of friends, your networking opportunities. Mars is in the 10th house at this time. So, this is the one energy that I associate with Capricorn, because it is in your natural house. And so it gives you more stamina, more drive to assert yourself in your career, and also to make a name for yourself. And so this is a very good energy for Capricorns, because it's kind of the way that you look at life, striving to get ahead, climb up the ladder, of success. And Mars here is a very energizing influence in that regard. Just make sure that you don't become obnoxious with it and overbearing, because Mars can wear out its welcome pretty quickly. Saturn, by the way, is going to be in that 12th house until 2017. So this is kind of a time, Saturn is your ruler. So I think that it kind of mitigates a lot of the typical oppressive energy of having Saturn in the house of hidden psychological issues. I think because it's your ruler, you know how it rolls, you know how to deal with it, and you can make the most of it. And I think it's kind of funny because if there's anyone who can organize under the most trying of circumstances, it's a Capricorn individual. And so, even in the area of this very indistinct type of energy that's related to kind of the cosmos, I think you have the potential for getting it under control as much as possible and really benefiting from your spiritual practice. So just keep that in mind, because some people will say, "Oh, this is, going to do this and that," but they don't realize that everything has a positive angle to it, even the things that seem the most challenging. And we have a full moon on Christmas Day after the sun has already gone into your first house, which it's doing, by the way, on the winter solstice on the 21st of December. And so this full moon will be in your sister sign of Cancer. So this will be triggering the seventh house. So there may be some developments in a marital situation. It might be things coming to a head, but that might be a good thing if you've been kind of hanging by a thread in a marriage. This might be when you decide to finally call it quits. And, I've been listening to other astrologers talking about the potential for challenging energy on Christmas Day. And I just kind of chuckle because that's like ground zero for a lot of battles when people have to go back and visit family. And even when they enjoy their family in some aspects, it can sometimes be very challenging as well. So, in terms of a marital relationship, sometimes the holidays can trigger breakups as well. But it could also be that you find something out about a partner. I have to say, too, that the 12th house can relate to secrets. And so when there is a lot of energy there, you might discover something during the sun being in the sign. It's like taking a flashlight and poking into some crevice that has been not looked at for a really long time. So you never know what might turn up. But this full moon can be a time when things come to light, so to speak. On the positive end of things, it could be a time when you become engaged or even get married. Some people might decide to get married in December. I know someone who got married on New Year's Eve. So that's the nice part of it, when it becomes this pregnant situation where something becomes full with the full moon and it becomes greater than it was. So it can work either way. Okay, Capricorn. So the card I drew to talk about the energy coming into the month of December is the Hanged Man. So some of you may be kind of in this state of suspension where you're waiting to hear about something, or else you have kind of not given up on a situation, but you're not directly trying to control it anymore. You're kind of letting it go for the time being and letting God take care of it. And this is kind of atypical for Capricorns because you tend to, as a cardinal sign, you like to try to manage things But even you can see when something is just not working out. But it can also mean that you are sacrificing for a higher purpose. It's interesting that this card is connected to the planet Neptune because I just told you about all of this 12th house activity. The Sun and Mercury go into the 12th house in November. So there's already that kind of energy happening. And maybe you feel a sense of not being as driven as you typically are and more contemplative. I did say that Mars is in your career sector. So that might be the one energy that is keeping you with an eye to your career, but there might be a lot of reflection going on for you as you come into December. And then for the month of December, the card to represent the whole month is the Two of Wands. And so this is kind of a beginning in some sort of career endeavor, or if you have your own business, it could also relate to a new relationship that you start on the job in your workplace. But whatever is happening, there is possibly two aspects of it that you are looking at. And maybe you are kind of weighing different things. Maybe you've been offered two different positions and you're not sure. Or maybe you have a day job and you also have a side business that you have begun, and you are trying to see if it's viable in and of itself. But in the meantime, you're kind of assessing what's going on. This may indicate travel. The spiritual message for the month is the Eight of Swords. So I think there's still something within your vibration that needs to be looked at, dealt with, that relates to feelings of limitation, feelings of self defeating thoughts that you're having. Again, with the 12th house, I can make that connection and saying that if you really engage in the energy, you're more likely to free yourself from that self-created bondage. The advice is the Page of Wands, and this could mean that you actually hear some good news related to a job, but it could mean that you must break out of the mold and you must be yourself. And for Capricorn, that is not the easiest thing to do because you're a traditionalist. And there is a definite element of conformity within your sign. So the Page of Wands is about expressing your individuality and not just allowing yourself to be confined to a certain image. And that might connect to that Eight of Swords, that you feel like that you're in some sort of bondage in terms of your how you present yourself and how other people view you. And this is telling you that you have to do it. The outcome is the Knight of Pentacles, and this is a great card for building wealth. And it's going to be through hard work, but I shouldn't say, I don't like the word hard work. It's going to be through concentrated effort, and this is something that you excel in. And so, Capricorn, I think that the month is one where career is going to be enhanced as well as your spiritual side. So, I think it's a great way to end the year. And if you'd like a personal reading, you can just click on the link below. Otherwise, have a great December. Bye.